So what is the full history of clone troopers in Star Wars? The history of the clones begins with their creation on the planet Kamino at the request of Jedi Master Sifo-Dyas, who foresaw the need for an army to defend the Republic. The Kaminoans used the DNA of the Mandalorian bounty hunter Jango Fett to create an army of genetically identical soldiers with accelerated growth rates and unwavering loyalty to the Republic. These clones served as the main backbone of the Grand Army of the Republic during the Clone Wars, fighting against the Separatist droid army. Although the how is still unknown, Darth Sidious went on to find out about the order that had been given. With the help of his apprentice Darth Tyrannus, they brought forward the demise of Sifo-Dyas by ordering the Pike Syndicate to murder him. After this betrayal by Dooku, the Sith Lord went on to recruit Jango Fett as the template for the clones, thus beginning the Sith's control over the Grand Army of the Republic. Although the Kaminoans thought the army was created to serve the Republic, the Sith wanted to deploy the clone troopers as a covert weapon against the Jedi Order. A biological inhibitor chip was inserted into each clone trooper's brain during the third stage of their development, with the intent of using them to destroy the Jedi. The chip's creator, Sifo-Dyas, had intended for it to be a defense against rogue Jedi, but after his death, Sidious and Tyrannus redesigned it to guarantee the destruction of the Jedi. There were only 2 clones who had the full Jango Fett DNA that remained unaltered. The first was a clone named Alpha who would come to be known as Boba Fett, and the second was of course Omega. All other clones' DNA was altered to make them more docile and not as aggressive as their DNA donor. Most clones looked to Jango as a father figure, but Jango held no pride in the clones, seeing them as just cannon fodder. The first batch of clones developed from the Jango Fett genotype, including Clone Captain Rex of the 501st and Clone Sergeant Slick, were referred to as Generation 1. Rex became a legend among the troopers as a result of his involvement in the Clone Wars, and the captain was finally hailed as the Clone Army's hero. 10 years after Sifo-Dyas ordered the development of the Clone Army, the first 200,000 units were prepared. When Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi arrived, 1 million additional clones were being created in the facilities dispersed over Kamino, in addition to the initial units. The clones were enrolled in an expedited training and aging program to build a big army quickly. Before maturing, each clone underwent excruciatingly rapid growth while experiencing constant training, simulations, and testing. The cloners and trainers on Kamino treated the clones like part of a machine rather than as living beings, thus they were given letter and number identifications to take away any sense of identity. The clones' quote-unquote recreation, where they engaged in sports and games that mirrored battle scenarios, was a continuation of their endless mental and physical workouts. Clone troopers were equipped with advanced weapons and armor, including the iconic white armor that would later become synonymous with the stormtroopers. They served as foot soldiers, pilots, and commanders in the Republic's fight against the Separatists, forming a highly efficient military force. Throughout the Clone Wars, they fought alongside the Jedi, forming close bonds with them. The Grand Army of the Republic's standard troopers and the clones educated for leadership positions such as captains and commanders were initially separated using color on Phase 1 armor. As the Clone Wars went on, color was increasingly used for the units to customize their armor. The practice persisted while Phase 2 armor was in use, but by the time Stormtrooper armor was developed following the Clone Wars, it had been abandoned. However, the development of the Stormtrooper distorted this image into that of a faceless icon of compliance. For long-range battles, clone troopers carried the DC-15A blaster rifle and DC-15S blaster, while blaster pistols were used for close quarters fighting and carried by a lot of captains and commanders. They also carried a variety of explosives such as thermal detonators and electromagnetic pulse grenades. The clone troopers that served the Galactic Empire returned their Phase 2 armor to its standard white appearance, except for the red armored shock troopers of the Coruscant Guard. The Grand Army of the Republic's numerous units were distinguished by color under the direction of the Jedi, allowing clones to show their uniqueness with the Jedi's assistance. The loss of the Jedi's influence and the clones' individuality, which had been supplemented by programmed uniformity, was signified by the return to a force of white armored troops. Various clone troopers had additional or specialized training to meet the demands of various warfare conditions. During the Clone Wars, conflicts took place in a variety of settings, necessitating the use of specialized equipment. From this, we saw many specialized clones in the likes of ARC troopers, clone commandos, ARF troops, BARC troopers, and many more specializations. A hidden trigger implanted in every clone would soon change the galaxy forever, when Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, revealed to be Darth Sidious, issued Order 66, the clones turned on their longtime Jedi allies, leading to the near eradication of the Jedi Order. The Jedi came close to learning about Order 66 near the end of the conflict. A clone trooper in the 501st Legion named Tup lost control of his mind after his inhibitor chip malfunctioned during the Battle of Ringo Vinda, leading him to betray and murder Jedi General Tiplar. The Republic, the Jedi, and the Kaminoans all conducted investigations as a result of this premature execution of Order 66. The ARC Trooper 5s was more and more certain during the inquiry that the inhibitor chip was the component of a plot against the Republic and the Jedi. He was permitted to present his case before Chancellor Palpatine against the advice of Nala Se. The ARC Trooper was unsure of the degree of the Chancellor's involvement in the plot, but their encounter led him to believe that the Chancellor was. Fives attempted to kill the Chancellor, but Jedi Master Shaak Ti saw him and stopped him. While attempting to tell Jedi General Anakin Skywalker and Captain Rex, Fives was confronted by a group of Coruscant shock troopers led by Clone Commander Fox. After Fox killed Fives, Palpatine persuaded the Jedi that the malfunction in Tup and Fives was caused by a rare parasite from Ringo Vinda. Chancellor Palpatine revealed to the Jedi his deception and actual identity as Darth Sidious, prompting an urgent response from the Jedi Council as the Republic neared complete triumph in the Clone Wars. Darth Sidious issued Order 66 to all clone soldiers all around the galaxy at the same moment, designating every Jedi as an enemy of the Republic. As a result of Order 66, the clones' secret chips were activated, destroying their devotion to the Jedi and brainwashing them into thinking that the Jedi were traitors to the Republic who should be put to death. The Jedi were caught off guard by their troops, betraying them, and were largely massacred by their clone troopers. By using the clone troopers as their covert weapon, the Sith were able to retake control of the galaxy through Sidious when the Jedi Order was destroyed. Sidious transformed the Republic into the First Galactic Empire and seized the title of Galactic Emperor once he had control over the military and administration. The new order thereafter underwent extensive changes that set it apart from the previous order. The clone troopers that had survived the Clone Wars continued to fight for the Empire as the first generation of Imperial stormtroopers as the war came to a close. During the early stages of the Imperial era, they served as the foundation of the Imperial Army. Most clone troopers had been decommissioned and reviewed as being obsolete by 4BBY. A tiny number of clones continued to serve the Imperial government, serving as mentors for the incoming stormtroopers. The Empire eventually replaced the clone troopers with human stormtroopers, primarily for financial reasons as clones were expensive to produce and raise. The Kamino cloning facilities were shut down shortly after the Clone Wars, and we see in Bad Batch that they were ultimately destroyed by the Empire. The remaining clones were gradually phased out. Some clones continued to serve as high-level shock troopers for a time, but they too were eventually replaced by ordinary recruits. A small number of clones were able to learn how to deactivate or resist their programming, despite the vast majority of clone troopers being loyal to the Empire, held in place by training, a sense of duty, and established organic programming. Of those few, even fewer, often because of their advanced age or circumstances, decided to rebel against the Empire. The clones were well versed in Imperial strategy and military administration and offered their combat training and experience to the numerous resistance groups they joined. Despite operating independently of one another, clones involved in the expanding rebellion occasionally worked together. Throughout various Star Wars media such as the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars, Star Wars Rebels, and Star Wars The Bad Batch, the stories and personalities of the individual clone troopers have been further explored, highlighting their unique traits and experiences despite their shared genetic origins. Let us know in the comments below who your favorite clone trooper is and why, and as always, may the Force be with you.